Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be talking a little bit about what I think is one of the most interesting Nintendo Switch controller options, the FUSION Wired Fightpad from PowerA. And real quick, if you're new here and you like these Nintendo Switch accessory reviews as well as weekly Nintendo news rundowns, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on everything happening with the channel. Now you're probably already familiar with PowerA, but if not, they're a popular third-party video game accessories and controller manufacturer currently making products for all platforms including PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, typically offering quality options that come in at a bit of a cheaper price point than their first-party counterparts. For example, their Nintendo Switch Pro controllers, some lack certain key features such as HD rumble or motion controls to sell them at a decent discount when compared to Nintendo's flagship Pro controller. But the FUSION Fightpad's value proposition is so niche that I still have yet to see one in store, and I think it might be one of PowerA's products that a lot of gamers don't know exists, so that's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Now, I certainly don't think this controller is going to be for everyone, but it is an interesting option to have. The release of the Nintendo Switch has actually stirred up a lot of conversation about something Nintendo patented all the way back in 1983, the DPad. See, the Switch happens to be Nintendo's first console since the Game & Watch series to not feature one, since one of the Switch's key features is the ability to detach a Joy-Con and hand it to your friend to function as a standalone controller. Nintendo needed to go with a split D-pad option so the buttons could serve as A, B, X, and Y buttons when tilted on its side. Now this has led some third-party manufacturers to create left Joy-Cons that do include a D-pad. It's also led to some discussion around the differing quality between Nintendo Switch Pro controller revisions. Early models seem to have a shallow rocker ball in the middle, leading to sometimes dual direction presses or unintentional drops in Tetris 99, with later revisions seeming to implement a much taller rocker ball, leading to overall better accuracy. And that's where PowerA's FUSION Fightpad comes in. But before we jump into what exactly I like most about this controller and a few things that I don't, we need to go back in time once more. See, you younger gamers out there probably didn't notice the striking resemblance PowerA's FUSION Fightpad bears to a much older controller, the Sega Saturn. Now the Sega Saturn ended up flopping in the States due in no small part to its struggle with 3D graphics. Sega even had to pivot a bit with their console architecture when they learned that Sony's PlayStation was intended to be a 3D powerhouse. But the Saturn did end up getting quite a few impressive arcade ports and is absolutely known as one of the best consoles for 2D fighting games. Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter, and King of Fighters all actually ended up looking better on the Saturn when compared to their PlayStation counterparts, and even though the Saturn didn't do well in the States, its controller ended up being known amongst fighting game enthusiasts as one of the best of all time. So when creating a controller specifically geared towards fighting game enthusiasts, it makes perfect sense that PowerA modeled theirs after the Saturns. Now with all that out of the way, let's get into the features of PowerA's Fightpad. There's actually quite a bit to go over that differentiates this controller from other Nintendo Switch controllers. Let's start with the D-pad, and this is where this controller really shines. While looking nearly identical to the Saturns, I dare say that this one feels better. It sits on a taller rocker than the Saturns and is super smooth when rolling in a full circle, but also has a distinct clickiness when pressing singular directions. This thing is a total dream for Street Fighter combos. In fact, all the buttons on this thing feel really good. In keeping with the Sega Saturn's 6-button layout, PowerA has moved additional R and ZR buttons to the face of the controller, which I can certainly see coming in handy in some competitive situations. And again, these buttons feel really great. They're big, smooth, and feel like a perfect middle ground between clicky and mushy, and the triggers feel great too, with the ZL and ZR buttons feeling slightly mushier than the rest. Another nice feature are the 2 switches PowerA has included to allow for a variety of input configurations, although I've really only found one of those to be all that useful. On the face of the controller, you can switch between DP for direction pad input and LS to have the D-pad register as left stick input for games that don't register the D-pad for movement. And this is the option that I've found the most useful. But there's also an RS option, which allows the D-pad to be registered as right stick input if you find yourself in a situation where you need to manipulate the camera. And on the top of the controller, there's also a switch to have the R button register as a right C-stick input, which is intended for Smash, although I really can't see this as a viable option for competitive Smash players. And back to the overall feel of the controller, I have to say it feels a bit more premium than some of PowerA's other controller options. See, when you take out the tiny motors responsible for rumble, you actually reduce the weight of the controller by quite a bit. And even though this controller lacks rumble, PowerA has perfectly weighted it so that it's not rocking around in your hands while you're smashing on the D-pad, and that added bit of heft really gives it a premium feel. PowerA's Fightpad is also quite a bit thicker and more rounded than the Saturn's, making it much more comfortable and ergonomic. You'll also get 3 interchangeable faceplates to allow you to customize the controller's look to your liking, and unlike Nintendo's Pro Controller, the Fusion Fightpad actually includes a headphone jack. Now onto the not so good, and this really just comes down to one thing: price. At $59.99, PowerA's Fightpad is only $10 cheaper than Nintendo's Pro Controller, and you'll be missing out on a lot of the key features that the Pro Controller offers, including dual analog sticks, HD rumble, motion controls, and wireless functionality. Granted, the fact that the Fusion Fightpad is wired only eliminates any possibility for input lag, but at $60, I really wish PowerA would have included Bluetooth functionality for wireless play. So, who is this controller really for? I'd say retro game enthusiasts, speedrunners, and competitive Tetris 99 players. For that very specific group of people, I think this controller is a really great option. For everyone else, that's just going to have to be your call. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Are you really looking for an excellent D-pad with zero input lag? Or do you wish you had a more retro style controller to play through some of those Nintendo Switch online games? Or is that $59.99 price tag a total deal breaker? Let me know what you're thinking. And if you stuck around through all that and like what you saw, please consider liking and subscribing. And until next time, this has been Neil from Nintendo Power. I'll see you in the next one.